is homesickness? Why do I have it? So welcome once again. I see my going live signal was a little bit slow there. And for today, we have Rebecca Dalmas with us. Welcome, Rebecca, and please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Dalmas, and thank you, Gian. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm very excited to have you here, Rebecca. So on today's topic, I have had a specific request from someone over Facebook who was talking about homesickness and how they've had the experience of homesickness for many, many years, even though they've already settled themselves where they are now, and even though they have nothing connected to the actual place where they used to grow up and live. And so I told this person that I will have a hangout and we can discuss the point of what is homesickness? Why do we have it? Where does it come from? How do we deal with it? Because there is a couple of consequences to living in a constant state of feeling homesick. And we'll get to that later. But for today, we have Rebecca Dalmas, who has had some changes in her life where she had to leave, or she did leave her country and she did move back. And she's going to share us a little bit about her experience with those movements happening in her life and how she dealt with the experience of homesickness. So Rebecca, if you can share a little bit of your background and what you have gone through in life and how you have supported yourself.
Well, as you said, I lived in Switzerland for 10 years and I left when I was 29. So I was there from 29 to 39. And I definitely miss my family, my mother. I was very close to very attached to my mother. I missed a lot of things about America at first. And one of the things I want to mention, so I don't forget it, is that it was cyclical in a way. In the spring, when the spring came, and the early summer, an intense longing for a certain place in America. It's like I had to go there. I mean, even the smells of the place would come up. And other aspects, there were qualities about America that I really missed. Switzerland is very, well, outside of the Alps, the cities and towns are, every bit of it is used. The space is all used. And some people call it a botanical garden, and it's beautiful. It has its qualities. In America, you've got a lot more land that's not used. So you still have a lot of places where there's this, it's wild. It's not so manicured and cultivated every inch. And part of me would miss that. So it was very hard, and in a way I had such, that missing was this longing to spend some time with my mother. I missed my work environment that I had left. I was working in New York City and I had developed a circle of friends there and a lifestyle, and I missed that. And I at times missed, I guess it's like an addiction, I missed all the conversations that I always had all day with my friends and the people I worked with. So there were quite a few things that I would say I was so used to, and they weren't there to comfort me anymore. And I could sense this. And over time, because I was there for 10 years, I started to see that for what it was and say, okay, this isn't here, but let's look at what values are here in Switzerland. And then I got used to them after 10 years, and I had to go back to America, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have the wildness again, but then there were things about Switzerland that I missed. So it was quite an interesting experience. And I want to say, because I was thinking about this talk, and I was thinking, how did I deal with this? And something came up. It was a situation where sometimes you know people for like, you just pass them for a few days. You don't have a long-term relationship with them. It's a very short-term relationship. But with that person, you can leave them and have an intense missing of them. And you're like, why am I missing this person? that I really didn't know and didn't really have this long relationship with. And one specific case was I was in a quartet master class, and the violinist that was the guide in the master class,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed listening to him play alone because he was so clear and precise. He would practice something with such clarity without any burden, and it was really a joy to watch. And he would work with the quartet, and afterwards he said, you know, I really enjoyed you being in this, thank you. And I left, and I missed him. I thought, I don't even know this person, and it didn't feel like a crush or anything like that. So I looked at it like, well, what was the value here that was clear, and was it that I was missing that value, like a word or like a point? And I realized, so I went in, I thought, okay, what did I enjoy about him? And it was that clarity. Just, it was like a little moment of clarity. And that was, so it's like the missing is a longing for something. And if you realize the value of it, that missing kind of goes away.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Rebecca, now I have a few questions. Yes, it makes sense. My first question, why did you move to Switzerland?
Marriage. I met a person and I wanted to be with them, and I was pregnant.
Okay. All right, because I'm just looking at the homesickness point in terms of, can it be circumstances that way from a certain comfort zone, that it feels like you haven't completely lived a previous life, and because of circumstances your life got changed? Because I see a lot of people that has this deep homesickness is because it feels like there's something missing that they haven't lived yet, and so they miss it because they wish they could go back there and see what could the potential have been, so to say. And so I'm just checking with you moving to Switzerland, it seems like quite a drastic change from one country to another, you know, and I've never in my life experienced a change like that. So I've never had the experience of, you know, having to uproot my entire life and move it somewhere else, but you clearly have. So the points you've mentioned is really cool. I can see how with the person that you've met and how it was a short relationship, how you've created that point of clarity in that moment, and how that can become a longing, because that's kind of showing also the rest of your life, the rest of your days isn't the same as that moment. And that moment was a moment of feeling fulfilled. You're living fully. You're being appreciated. You're doing what you want to do with someone else that sees that potential and value. So now you're taken away from that moment once again, and now it's like a longing for that. So what can we learn from that? What have you now, after how many years has it been since you moved back to America?
Oh God, it's been more than 10. It's been 16.
16. Okay, so have you ever had a sudden moment in your life where you felt like missing it again?
Definitely. I liked your comment about how missing is realizing that something was unfulfilled. Because when I left Switzerland, I'd become so immersed in the culture and comfortable with it that I'd gotten to the point where I was expanding within it, just accepting it and exploring it. And I wanted to and I realized, oh, this is cool. I want to understand some more of this place. You know, it's different, and it's really shown me some things that I never knew existed. And then I left.
Okay, yeah.
And I felt like I had this unfinished desire that I created to explore.
Okay. Because I see the word you also bring is comfort.
Yeah.
All right, so comfort, as I see for your example so far, is where you were able to grow and expand, and where you really start immersing yourself with your environment. and then it got uprooted again. It got taken away. All right, and now you are back in a different scenario, a different life, and you need to figure out now, okay, who am I in this environment in life that is also comfortable, but it's like you never reach it because it's now become a comparison, correct?
Yeah, I could see where there's some lingering things of, we might call unfinished business, where I never lived through that idea, but I also came to think that it was an idea. And yes, maybe obviously there was still room for potential and growth there, but there is here too.
Okay. Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, so the here point, can you explain a little bit more about how you see this here too?
Through having missed here when I was there.
Okay, so in the end, it's a polarity game.
Yeah, it's the grass is always greener on the other side of the hill. Yet, I guess what helps me within that is that I really can only do so much in a moment. I can only be in this moment here. And there's as much potential and things to understand here.
So Rebecca, I have sorry.
You froze. Okay.
Yeah, you froze a little bit too, but I think we're back now.
Okay, I didn't hear your question.
Yeah, that's why I always try and stay as quiet as possible on my videos, because my screen and internet cannot compute so fast. All right, so Rebecca, please continue with where you were.
Where was, about being here, being present here. I guess what being in those moments of missing things, and also the relationship example that I gave is that there's not really anything to miss in a way, because that missing is always a comparison to what was. And, with hindsight, seeing the value of what was in the past. And if you're realizing the value that was in the past, and that's happened, as I change places consistently, then why don't I stay here and enjoy the value that's here? Instead of living in there being a value.
Okay, so you're saying that hindsight. Your solution. Sorry, I think the sound just went out.
It froze for a second.
Yeah, I don't know whose internet connection is bad, mine or yours. Okay, we're back. Say something.
So did you get that about me saying all right, another way to say it is, in the missing, you realize that you're looking, I realized I was looking at the past and the values that existed there with hindsight, right? So why not be here in this moment, realizing the values here instead of, and making them the most they can be, so that if I'm in the future looking at my past, my values that I lived in that moment, or my understanding of what was there, was of value. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, Rebecca. What I'm understanding from it is that you're saying the solution to not being stuck in a feeling of homesickness is understanding. And understanding comes from being real with yourself. Because if you look at homesickness, it's quite irrational, the experience that we do have when we feel homesick. Because I remember when I was 18 and I left home. Now, when I say left home, I left home quite far. My parents wasn't close by. I came to the farm here and I started working. For the first 6 months, I was missing home drastically. I was missing my mom, my dad, my brothers, my friends. I was missing my environment because I took myself out of that environment and placed myself in a new environment. And with that, I had no comfort, which is the point you already explained. And I could see points that I haven't fully lived. I'm 18 and here I'm taking on responsibility instead of partying with my friends, instead of seeing what girlfriends I could have had, what relationships I could have started, what kind of jobs I could have done in the system. So here I had this homesickness of feeling like I'm kind of sick. I'm actually sick because I'm depressed, I'm gloomy, and I don't know how to move beyond this. It's like a heavy feeling, and I'm not even certain after a while what is it I'm missing. It's now just become this cloudy feeling, this feeling inside myself of I'm missing something. And as you explained, it is the here-ness point that I exactly that had to start implementing, because I would be doing gardening, right? Planting a little beautiful flower. And I'm not here with the flower because I'm thinking about or feeling what I'm missing out somewhere, and I'm being homesick. And then I realized in those moments that I'm missing out completely on what is here and what I'm doing right now. Like I'm not even regarding this flower. I'm not even creating this moment with this flower. I'm completely lost in a irrational feeling that has no more meaning. It's just this feeling of like I should be somewhere else. So I start implementing that solution that you mentioned of the here moment, where I would look at what am I doing? Can I make this moment, this here moment, the best there is? And the next, and the next. Am I completely in awareness? Am I making every moment equal to all the other moments? So not one moment stands out less or more. And this is the point that I have been implementing for myself, to remove that feeling of I could have done better, I could have done more, I could have had a different life path. These are just our general points, because I was looking in tonight's chat, also bringing in radical points. All right. Now, this is for conspiracy people.
Now I'm curious.
People that believe in aliens, and people that feel like they don't belong on Earth, because there's so many levels of homesickness. I don't know, Rebecca, have you ever felt like you don't belong on Earth, like you even belong somewhere else?
Yeah. I don't have any.
Let me give you my example. Maybe you can look at it more clearly.
Okay.
When I was into aliens, right, researching UFOs and aliens, I start creating this feeling inside myself that I belong on a different planet. So that same feeling of homesickness, I start creating inside myself towards a imaginary place, right? And it's the same point, because I believe that on this imaginary place, this other planet or spaceship, I could live my utmost potential. I could be myself. I could express myself. So does that give you any similar memory coming up or experience you've had?
The only thing I can think of is you're really. There have been moments when I was really excited about an event or something coming up, and I went to it, and when I got to the event, it wasn't what I expected in my head, and then I got depressed. That's kind of a similar thing. Do I remember?
You weren't able to go, so you created an imaginary homesickness point of that would have been home to you if you were there. You would have been at a place that you belong.
Yeah, so the idea in my head how I was going to be there, what it was going to be like. And when I got there and then this didn't match the situation, I wasn't comfortable because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
That's like a little mini memory.
Yeah.
Lost. Yeah.
All right. So now to get back to more serious matters, I know the whole alien point was a bit out there, but I just wanted to show how sickness point can be, depending on where we are in our minds. Now, how can we support someone that has been living with such a feeling for 10, 20 years and hasn't been able to change that feeling? Meaning, doesn't matter if they have a family, doesn't matter if they've lived in a different country now for 10, 20 years, and doesn't matter if there's no one in the other country anymore that they can miss. For instance, everyone has passed away. What would the solution be for such a person? Practically, do you have any advice or any similar experiences that you can perhaps give to someone like that?
I would say it's something that we've already touched on, and that is to realize the values where you are, that you're actually living. That, I mean, all right, on one level you could, all right, what is it about this other place that you miss? Was it your relationships with the people around you? Meaning in day-to-day things, how you communicated with them and shared with them and interacted with them and enjoyed the weather, for example. I mean, aren't you doing that in your present life? Aren't there new people that you've met and new people that you communicate with and new experiences that you're having that have great value and enjoy them? That's what I would say. I mean, isn't that what memories are made of? On one level.
Okay. Yeah, memories are experienced moments that imprinted like taking a photo onto the physical body that now leaves traces of moments that is compacted from each second of that experience to create thoughts, feelings, and emotions to then be experienced in other moments that is similar to the previous moment, and where you now can place these thoughts, feelings, and emotions because in your first 7 years is when you've imprinted most of your experiences and how you've decided you would experience life. So here we're going into the more deeper stuff in relation to homesickness, meaning if you look at the design of home, what is a home? A home is a structure. It is a building currently as how we've defined it. It's your house, it's your home. It's where you are who you are, and no one's going to judge you. Everyone that knows you in that home knows you the way you are, your mom, dad, uncle, aunt, brother, sister, and it's where you are most comfortable, not necessarily always in everyone. And when we leave home, we usually put on masks and suits and we look different and we present ourselves to the world in a different way because we're not yet that comfortable. So obviously our programming took place in our home where we grew up, a physical place, an environment. And as life changes, our environments changes, our people changes, the friends change, everything changes in life. That's the most consistent thing that there is change. And we will always feel homesick due to nothing in our current environments will be exactly the same as where we were raised and born and educated, which is in the first actual physical home. So I believe a lot of feelings that we have, we cannot even place a memory on it. We cannot even place a specific experience on it because it happened in our early years where we had a moment of comfort, a moment of enjoyment, a moment of full potential and expression. And we might come across similar moments in our lives in different environments. And we might connect the feeling, not necessarily the memory, to these similar moments. And if we continuously live our life to fulfill past moments, we will always generate the same feelings that we used to have as children from our home. And we won't be able to create a consistent thing. So you'll be looking for it because you're looking for that happiness, so to say, that comfort, And if we don't find it, we're always actually homesick. We're always actually feeling like I don't belong in this world. I cannot function in this world effectively. The people I'm with now isn't effectively representing that points that I used to have as a child. And it doesn't matter if we change our lives 110%, if we are not going to make peace with here in the moments, to create what is here in the moments, but still always seeking for that experience, feeling, where we're comfortable and where we can live our utmost potential instead of creating it. Homesickness is going to be something that's going to drag through our entire lives with us. And I've seen people, like family members, that had to change their life since they were very young because of past events. And up until they're 80, and they're on their deathbed, and they feel like they haven't lived their life. They feel like they have a lot of regrets and denials because they are actually still homesick, missing where they grew up, missing the family members, missing the environments, because they never took the new moments and created it to their utmost potential and letting go of that feeling, or making every single moment that experience that they know that they can create instead of looking for it. You know, it's like an example I had that I looked at. It's like a tree. A tree, as a seed, starts growing in a certain soil. And the tree's roots will set in the certain soil. And it will become dependent on the certain soil, the certain environment, the atmosphere, the humidity, the winds, the sun. The tree will become used to all of that, and it will feel like it can only reach its full potential in that setup. Now, if you uproot a tree and you put it in a different soil, in a different environment, a tree has two options. One option is it's going to die a little bit and it's going to regrow itself. It's going to strengthen itself and it's going to become strong again. Or it can start dying and die. That is two options that a tree has. Now we must look at ourselves the same way, because you always have actually only two decisions. The one is to live here in your utmost potential and to let go of any feelings or emotions or thoughts that is preventing you from making every moment the most. Or you can do what the other tree did and basically live as if you are dead, because you're always missing something. You're always feeling like you can only grow in that environment. You can only have a strong, stable tree if it's in that specific environment. Okay, but it's not so, because we're not trees. We can actually do more. We can decide where we're going to be strong, and that can be in every single moment. But Rebecca, I would like to hear from your perspective now.
I was just thinking, you could say, well, what if I had grown up here? You grew up in one place and you moved to another place. You can say to yourself, well, who would I be if I'd grown up here and this was my comfort zone? Because
all right, that's a cool way of integrating the solution. Yeah. All right. Good, simple and to the point. Thanks, Rebecca. Okay, so it's actually, homesickness is something that we have to really forgive and realize that home is earth. Home is here. Home is everywhere. Home is inside you. It's who you are. That's your home. And we need to find a comfort within ourselves, so that when we change every single moment, that home becomes the here, the here, the here, instead of it becoming something that you must find or search for, or a longing that you have to regain. Because that's the biggest problem that I have heard from family members as well. I'm not going to say specific names, where they would say it's a point of loss, where you feel you have lost something. And especially my parents, they have so many regrets and points that is always from the past, where it could have been, it should have been, what if not? And they cannot live their life fully right now in the moment. And so many arguments, so many conflicts, um, so many issues, I'm not going to name them all, develop between your current relationships in your current environment, just because everything isn't showing you what you are seeking for, or feeling that you have lost out on, or that you can't regain. So you're always homesickness. You're always actually a sick person, which infects in your environment, unless you make yourself healthy, which is and being and letting go of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions.
It's a cool thing. I mean, I know from living in 2 different countries is that I really noticed, I mean, how people and nature have different expressions, but the potentials, it's like, okay, this is a different potential realized, and this is cool. I mean, if I had grown up there, I would be more that way, or if I'd grown up here. So really, why compare the two? Why not realize the value here where I am? And yeah, I've actually talked to a lot of expatriates like myself about this, and a lot of them say, yeah, you really start to see that the values where you are, there are different values or different measures, but one is not really more than the other.
Yeah.
And that's really a cool thing to learn to accept.
All right. So you have accepted.
Yeah, I have to say, yeah, it's interesting because a little bit of that memory of those things I didn't get to explore in Switzerland, you know, which could be just an idea. There's a little bit of that there.
Okay. Another point of homesickness. Do you know that I personally have felt homesickness towards Europe, yet I've never in my life been there?
Wow.
Okay. So how does that work? Now I'm going to tell you how it works. It's called brainwashing. Because everyone told me as a child, your ancestors is from Europe. Your ancestors is from a first world country. You know, you are from this lineage, this family. So here me as a child is sitting there going, wow, I've missed out on so much. You know, and now I'm seeing Europe on TV, I'm seeing it on the maps, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm missing out on so much. I feel homesick. I feel like I should be there. I should be in Europe. You know, who could I have been? What could I have done in my own country that I'm supposed to be in? Yet, when I look at reality, I'm here. I'm an African, admit it or not. I was born here. My parents was born here. My grandparents was born here. You know, there's no more European. This is now where I live. But it's not even about me being African. Even if I was in Europe, even if I was in America, even if I was in Asia, you know, I can take each country and look at who would I have been, and I can live that now. I don't have to wait for changes to happen. And I had to get over this through, first of all, not identifying myself with Europe and forgiving all the brainwashing that's happened over many years in the schooling system and social structures. So obviously there is a point of self-responsibility of looking at what has been programmed into us and how there is these unidentified feelings or emotions in us that makes us feel homesick or longing, that has no rational explanation for where we are right here, right now. So that was just an interesting point that I wanted to bring up to share, how I've had that weird homesick feeling towards a country I've never in my life seen. And if anyone else has ever experienced that, then you can look at homesickness in a more broader way to start showing you how you can never trust it. You can never trust the homesickness feeling. Because the moment you trust it, you're giving away your power. You're giving away your authority. Because you're giving away yourself to the past. Instead of living in the present here moment where you can be who you believe you've missed out on, who you believe you've lost or could have had, which you can't even explain, you just feel it. So that's a pretty cool for me that I have realized. And yeah, I don't know if you have a similar point, Rebecca.
I was going to redefine memory as memoir. Those are all the memoirs, and then I had a similar feeling about Europe. I mean, I live in America, and Europe is, you know, the cultural heart of Western civilization. So I thought that that would make me more going there. So, yeah, some of it's indoctrinated, and some of it is also that those first 7 years, my values were memoirs, you know, and
I like how you use it in your sentences, memoirs.
Yeah, and also again, those things that believing that I missed out on opportunities or potentials having left Europe. Yeah, to realize that it's an idea about something that would make me more that I lost.
Okay.
But
so,
yeah.
And then you just become me more lies. I'm full of lies.
Yeah, instead of being here.
Okay, so I just want to explain a point for those that view the Hangout. How do you create a homesickness feeling that you cannot explain? Now, to understand how thoughts, feelings, and emotions work, you need to understand that if you have participated in the past in many thoughts about the past, where you have used comparison or any of the homesickness feelings, then later on in your life, when it is accumulated extensively, it becomes a possession, meaning it's now just an energy that takes over. And to pinpoint that energy is going to be very difficult because it's like an onion, except it's got a billion layers instead of just 5 or 6. So what is best to do practically in moments when you feel homesick and it's compromising your current moment? Like let's say you go out of your family or you go out of a friend and you go into a sudden depression or a bad mood because you're feeling homesick, you're feeling like you're missing something, but you don't know what it is and it's just a feeling. The best thing to do is to take a breath and to drop it. Because feeling it and looking if you can look at it is going to be very difficult in that specific moment. You can perhaps go home later and write about it or figure out where did this feeling come from? Why did it possess me? Because it is in a moment, it is a small possession because it takes over everything of you and you're not the authority anymore in the moment. So when you have those moments of feeling homesick suddenly and you can't explain it, best thing is to take a breath and to just let it go and to focus here, focus on the enjoyment of the other person or the environment. Focus on something real and physical, like your dog, or doing the garden, or doing the dishes, or mopping your floor. You know, do something that's real and live it. And then perhaps later you can go investigate. But don't let it compromise your life, because it does compromise people's lives. Some people will live in this for weeks and months, and they'll go into a depression, and this depression then becomes something that is, people can't say where it's coming from. Now you're taking pills for it and you're compromising your life for it, you know, which is pointless. All right, so we are going to now start with the taking questions, where me and Rebecca will give our perspectives or answers if there is any questions, and we will give 5 minutes for anyone who has a question. I will first get it active. And in the meantime, Rebecca, do you have any points more that you would like to share personally? Any insights, any perspectives?
When you were talking about how you can get stuck in, the layering of the thinking about the past and how that can create a depression that lasts for years, I was thinking about like a perpetual midlife crisis that never goes away.
That does happen. I know it sounds funny, but when people are actually in it, it's quite dark. And it starts as something as small as homesickness, or feeling like
Yeah.
you could have lived a different life. Something else could have happened. Something else could have changed. And you can't even explain it anymore. Like it can be a boyfriend that you could have had in grade 7, and you don't even know now at your current life and where you are that it is about that which you had many years ago. And now you're trying to figure it out and like, what should I change in my life? What should I do to fulfill this feeling? And then we follow all these paths and things that we don't understand just because of one moment of giving into energy. So anyone has questions, please, the questions is open right now. And me and Rebecca will just enjoy the chat and talk till we have a question. So Rebecca, anything more from your side? We can be creative.
Well, lately I've been thinking how much attention, the capacity of us to attend to things, be them memories or longing for the past. So we have this great capacity to focus. So if we transferred that focus to being present, what could we do and what could we be? And would we get to the end of our lives and not have a single expression of regret? Because we could say, I was here.
Yeah, and there's no, every moment is the same. So there's no comparison of I could have lived more, I could have lived better. What if there could have been more? But it's always, in this moment, I'm here, and I'm living this moment so absolutely. I don't have to ever think about it again. I don't have to feel it because I can live in complete honor of that moment.
Right.
And I've been practicing that so much where, for instance, with my son, because it's one thing that I've noticed is a lot of parents has regrets, or parents that I've spoken to, especially family members, it's like, I should have been there more. I should have done more. I could have done more. But I realize it's not about more, it's about who am I in the moment? Am I present? Am I knowing that this moment with my child, if it's 5 minutes or 10 hours, am I living it fully so that I don't have to think about it or ever regret it, or I could have done something, I should have done something. So I'm really practicing this right now in my life where every moment I'm checking myself. All right, is there a feeling of I should be doing something else? It could have been more. And I live in such a way that even if I live the fullest in a moment, it mustn't become a regret of I could have done something else in that moment. You have to really check that you are here, breathing.
That's interesting. My son's home for the summer, the one in college, and he comes in the morning and he sits at the table, and he's 23. And I just stop and I'm like, okay, he's here for a few minutes. I'm really going to look at him. I'm going to give all of my attention to him because, there are moments where I realize, oh my God, I didn't even notice him. I was so busy on the computer.
Okay, yeah.
And what I found is he'll be sitting there and he's looking at me, keeps looking at me, like to see if I'm looking at him. And I'm like, is this what you always did and I didn't notice? Or
yeah, so you see, it's those moments, Rebecca, really, really cool moment that we take for granted, so to say.
Yeah.
And that becomes in 20 years the feeling of what am I missing out? And then we can't place it anymore. It's now so layered, so lost. And then we live in this feeling of the past all the time, the homesickness feeling. So we have a comment from Alejandro. He says, thanks, Gian and Rebecca. Always my mind see through new windows. And then say thank you very much for the comment. And then we have a comment from Mats Bjornsty. Sorry, man. I always say your surname a little bit wrong. I know it. So I'll just say Mats. He says, let's get home healthy. All right, cool, Mats. Thank you very much for the comment.
That's
we will
cool.
get healthy. We're healed thyself. That's what healthy is.
Could you say that again? I didn't hear it.
It's heal thyself. Healthy self. Healthy. That's how I play with the words. All right. So if anyone else has more comments, we will be 1 more minute on the air for comments. I see we have viewers. Don't be shy. Me and Rebecca is very friendly and open to anything. Unless it's abusive and hateful, I will delete the comment and laugh.
Me more.
Okay. So 30 more seconds. Rebecca, while we have these 30 seconds, thank you very much for being on the Hangout.
Thank you, Guy.
We've known each other for many years, but it's always a pleasure to just speak and to see each other's faces. And that's why I specifically started G Talks, so that I can start connecting with fellow people for real, who are seeing faces, hearing voices, seeing laughters, because we get so disconnected so quickly. And all we see is words on screens, and we don't actually get to know the people. And I believe that that's one of the things that these Hangouts that I'm doing can change for all of us. All right, we have another comment. Sorry, Rebecca, we have another comment. Let me just quickly read it. If you live in a wealthy country and move to a poor country, that can cause homesickness. From Mats Bjorns, from Mats. Mats, that is totally true. Because it's still the same point. Because even if you move to a poor country, which I do live in, and I have experienced that, where I moved from a healthy environment to a poor environment and lived in a poor environment for many years, you have to do the same, breathe and be here. It's no excuse to live in the past, even if things take a turn for the worst, because you still have to live for you and to make sure that you will still not live in regret or I could have or I should have. And only that way can you improve your life and make clear decisions that isn't chasing feelings and emotions, but that's rather based on physical reality. So thank you very much, Matt. Any more? This is our last commenting. Rebecca Damas, thank you very much. You can now continue your sentence.
What? No, it's gone. I know I had one, and now I thought, oh, okay. Well, can't remember.
I was talking about how nice it is to see people's faces over the Hangout.
Yeah, it's really nice to see you, Gian. Definitely, right. I enjoyed it. Thank you, and thanks for the questions, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night. This is where we hang up, and I will see you in 2 weeks. The guests and Rebecca, thank you very much again. Goodbye, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the evening and take care. Keep breathing.
Bye.